911, what's your emergency? A woman's voice. Broken, searching for words that won't come fast enough. I can't find my daughter. She's not screaming. She's not hysterical. She sounds like someone who still hasn't fully accepted that what she's describing is real. Like if she keeps her voice steady, maybe it won't be. The dispatcher asks questions. When did you last see her? How old is she? Where are you? She's 5 years old. 5 years old. We were here at the park, and people said that probably somebody took her. Bridgeton City Park, Bridgeton, New Jersey. A Monday afternoon in September. Families out, kids playing, hundreds of cars moving through the area. And somewhere inside all of that, a little girl in a yellow koala t-shirt and butterfly pants simply disappeared. Her name was Dulce Maria Alavez. She was 5 years old. She had just started kindergarten. She loved Frozen and pretended she was a princess. That was September 16th, 2019. It has been more than 5 years. She has never been found. No confirmed suspect. No arrest. No body. Just a 20-minute window, 4 to 4:20 p.m., that nobody has been able to explain. This is the case of Dulce Maria Alavez. And if you've never heard it, you need to. Because the deeper you go, the more unsettling it gets. Before we go any further, drop a comment right now and tell me what city you're watching from. What time is it where you are? Is it late at night? Because this is not a story you want to fall asleep in the middle of. I want to see how far Dulce's story is traveling. She deserves to be known everywhere. And if true crime documentaries that actually dig deep, cases that deserve more than a headline, are why you're here, hit that subscribe button right now. We don't drop these stories. We stay until there are answers. Now, let's go back to the beginning.
911, where's your emergency?
I can't find my daughter.
Okay, when was the last time you seen her?
We were there at the park, and people said that probably somebody took her.
Okay. How old is she?
She's 5 years old.
Okay, and what park are you at?
Here in Bridgeton Park.
See anyone else around there that she could possibly have went with?
No, not that I know of. Because we even saw no one. There's just some other people that they're here that said that they saw her running through some houses in the back. And they said that they saw two men. They saw a black guy and they saw a Mexican man with two kids.
Who's saying that they saw them?
But there's people here in the basketball court that they saw her. They said that they saw her running.
Dulce Maria Alavez was born in April 2014 in Bridgeton, New Jersey. Bridgeton is a small city in Cumberland County, tucked in the southwestern corner of the state. It's a tight-knit community with a large Spanish-speaking population. The kind of place where people know their neighbors, where families live close together and look out for each other. Dulce's mother, Noema, was just 14 years old when Dulce was born. Because of how young she was, Dulce was primarily raised by Noema's mother, Norma, who eventually became her legal guardian. So from the very beginning, this was a family held together by 2 generations of women doing the best they could for a little girl who lit up every room she walked into. Her father, Edgar Perez, had been deported back to Mexico in 2018, just 1 year before Dulce disappeared. He'd been a constant presence in her early life. Changed her diapers, handled the early mornings, the way any devoted dad does. His deportation left a gap, but the family stayed close-knit. By all accounts, Dulce was the kind of kid you just couldn't ignore. Full of energy, but deeply loving, always hugging, always kissing her family. She was obsessed with Frozen. Could watch it on repeat, no complaints, every single time like it was the first. She loved pretending she was a princess, dancing around the house, completely lost in her own little world of make-believe. By September 2019, Noema had moved forward with her life. She had a 3-year-old son named Manny and was 5 months pregnant with her 3rd child. Life was busy, life was complicated, but it was moving. And Dulce had just started kindergarten. Brand new backpack, new folders. A little girl stepping into a whole new chapter of her life. She never made it to her 2nd week. September 16th, 2019 started like any other Monday. School was done. The afternoon was open. Noema had been waiting outside her mother's house for Dulce and her younger sister to get off the school bus. When they arrived, the group, Noema, Dulce, 3-year-old Manny, and Noema's younger sister made a quick stop at a nearby gas station. They grabbed ice cream. Surveillance cameras inside the store caught them clearly. Dulce was wearing white pants printed with butterflies and flowers, white sandals, and a yellow t-shirt with a koala on it. She looked happy. Normal. Just a little girl on an ordinary afternoon out. From there, it was a 5-minute drive to Bridgeton City Park. Now, you need to picture this park. It's massive. Roughly 1,000 acres in Cumberland County, sitting right behind Bridgeton High School. Big enough to get lost in. big enough for someone to move through without drawing attention. There are wooded areas, open fields, bodies of water, buildings tucked behind the playground. It is not a small neighborhood park. It is a significant piece of land. They parked near the basketball courts. Dulce and Manny jumped out and ran toward the playground swings. About 30 yards away. Noema stayed in the car. She was 5 months pregnant. On most days, she'd bring the family dog and walk over with the kids. But not that day. That day, she stayed behind with her younger sister, who was working on homework while Noema scratched off a lottery ticket. Here's the thing about where they parked. You could see the park from the car. But not all of it. A hill partially blocked the line of sight to the swings. The kids were close, but not fully visible. It is 4 p.m. By 4:20, something was wrong. Exactly what happened in those 20 minutes depends on which version of events you're looking at, and that inconsistency became one of the first major complications in this case. The first account suggested that Manny ran back to the car alone, without his sister. Later, Noema said that never happened, that she and her sister got out of the car when they could no longer see either child and went looking for them themselves. What both versions agree on is this. They found Manny crying. His ice cream was on the ground, and Dulce was nowhere to be seen. Noema asked him where his sister was. He pointed towards some buildings near the edge of the park. She thought maybe Dulce was hiding, playing a game the way 5-year-olds do. She searched. Nothing. Before she called 911, she called her brother. He lived nearby. He came over with his dog. They searched together. Still nothing. She then approached kids at the basketball court and asked if anyone had seen her daughter. One said he saw Dulce running toward the buildings and mentioned seeing a man nearby. Another gave a completely different description, a red van with sliding doors and a Hispanic man in the area. The accounts didn't line up. That gap, that inconsistency between witness accounts, it would follow this investigation for years. Only after all of that did Noema finally call the police. Hello, ma'am? Hello. Did you see which direction your child went? Noema. No. We were in the car. She came down with my son. They were running to the park, and then me and my sister, we came down. But when we got here at the park, she wasn't here. B. Spencer, are you at the basketball court? Noema. Yes, I'm right here right now. They said he was crying when we found him. He was just standing there crying. By the time officers arrived, roughly 45 minutes had passed since Dulce was last seen. In a park with around 400 vehicles coming and going that afternoon, with no surveillance cameras directly on the playground, that 45-minute window was critical, and it was already gone. The moment officers arrived at Bridgeton City Park, it was clear this was not a routine call. K-9 units were brought in. Officers spread out across the park. Volunteers from the surrounding community started showing up almost immediately. People who knew the area, people who just wanted to help, flooding in from every direction. And that right there was the first major problem. Bridgeton City Park covers 1,000 acres, wooded areas, bodies of water, open fields, buildings tucked behind the playground. It's the kind of place where a child could wander, or where someone who knew the layout could move quickly and quietly without being seen. Because the park was never immediately locked down, volunteers had already walked through the area by the time law enforcement fully took control of the scene. Footprints, tire tracks near the playground, physical traces that might have pointed investigators somewhere, potentially disturbed, potentially gone. The K-9 units picked up a scent. They tracked it for close to an hour, then it stopped, just like that. The trail went cold. The FBI's child abduction unit stepped in early to assist local law enforcement. Dive teams checked nearby bodies of water. Helicopters swept the area from above. More than 300 officers were involved. Over 200 locations searched. More than 500 vehicles checked and accounted for. Registered sex offenders in the surrounding area were contacted and asked to verify their whereabouts. Every angle investigators could think of, they pursued. And then came the Amber Alert, or rather, the delay. 28 hours after Dulce was last seen, at 10 p.m. on September 17th, the Amber Alert was finally issued. For a case involving a 5-year-old child in a public park surrounded by witnesses and vehicles, that timeline drew serious criticism. Former FBI Special Agent J.J. Claver later stated plainly, the alert should have gone out within hours, not the following night. Every hour that passes without that broadcast is an hour the trail gets colder and the window for recovery narrows. FBI Special Agent Daniel Guerra said something during the investigation that stuck with a lot of people. He said the person responsible most likely knew Bridgeton well, not just the general area, but specifically the park, the layout, the blind spots, the times when certain areas would be busy and others would be empty. This was not, in his assessment, a random act by a stranger passing through. This looked calculated. He also said something that applied direct pressure to the entire community. Investigators believed there were people out there who had seen something that day. A vehicle near the park, a person acting strangely, and still had not come forward. Someone knew something, and they were staying quiet. That reality hung over the entire investigation like a shadow, and it never fully went away. If you're still watching, and I know you are, because this case gets under your skin, this is the moment to share this video. Right now. Before we go any further, put this in front of someone who might have been at Bridgeton City Park on September 16, 2019. Put it in front of someone who was living in Cumberland County at the time. You don't know who's in your circle. Share it. Let's keep moving. When a child goes missing, two things happen almost simultaneously. The community rallies, and the internet turns. Both happened fast in Dulce's case. Both created serious complications for the people trying to find her. Within hours of Dulce's disappearance, Bridgeton came alive with people wanting to do something. Neighbors, strangers, families with kids of their own who couldn't imagine going through what Noema was facing. People showed up to search. They shared posts. They went live on Facebook to spread awareness. On September 18th, just 2 days after Dulce vanished, the community held a candlelight vigil. Hundreds gathered. The grief was real. The fear was real. Parents in Bridgeton started watching their kids differently, standing closer, looking over their shoulders, second-guessing moments they used to take for granted. One resident described it plainly. Things just didn't feel the same anymore. Even standing right next to your child, you couldn't shake the feeling that something could happen. But alongside the genuine outpouring of support, something else was spreading just as fast. Rumors. Social media became a battlefield of speculation. Online groups formed overnight, claiming to have inside information, sharing unverified theories, pointing fingers. And the finger that got pointed the most, the one that kept coming back, was aimed directly at Noema. People questioned her story. They questioned the inconsistencies in the timeline. They questioned why she stayed in the car. They questioned her composure. Comments accused her of selling her daughter, of knowing where she was, of being responsible for her disappearance. It was relentless, it was public, and it was deeply painful for a mother already living through the worst experience of her life. Police Chief Gamari stepped up to the podium and addressed it directly. He urged the public to stop spreading unverified information and stick to the facts coming from law enforcement. He confirmed that Noema and her family were cooperating fully with the investigation. Her phone had been taken by authorities multiple times for examination. She had submitted to a polygraph test at the request of investigators, though she was never told the results. Every box law enforcement asked her to check, she checked. When Noema finally spoke publicly at a press conference 2 weeks after Dulce disappeared, she addressed the accusations head-on. She said it broke her deeply to read comments claiming she had harmed her own daughter. She loved Dulce completely. She also explained something important. She said she doesn't cry in front of people, not even in front of her own parents. That's simply who she is. The way she carries grief is internal, quiet on the outside, devastating on the inside. For those who expected tears as proof of innocence, her composure read as suspicion. But composure is not guilt, and grief does not look the same on every person. Meanwhile, Dulce's grandmother Norma, her legal guardian, the woman who raised her, was out every single day, putting up flyers, knocking on doors, doing everything in her power to keep her granddaughter's face in front of people. Through tears at the vigil, she made a direct plea. If you know something, please call police. The people that have the little girl don't know what you're causing us. The reward grew to $35,000. By November 2019, investigators released something the public had been waiting for, a composite sketch. The man they wanted to identify was described as thin, possibly Hispanic, around 30 to 35 years old, roughly 5 feet 6 inches tall, with noticeable acne on his face. He was reportedly seen wearing a black t-shirt, red pants, orange sneakers, and a baseball cap. The sketch was distributed widely. Tips started coming in from across the country. Several men who resembled the description were brought in for questioning. Every single one of them was released. No match, no breakthrough. Police Chief Gamari made a specific appeal to the public at this point. He asked people to watch for anyone in their circle who had suddenly stopped showing up to work around the time of Dulce's disappearance. Anyone who had abruptly changed their appearance. Anyone who had gotten rid of a vehicle shortly after September 16th. Small behavioral shifts that might seem insignificant on their own, but could point investigators somewhere. Cumberland County Prosecutor Jennifer Webb McRae went even further. She asked the community to watch for something specific. Families who had never had a young child before and suddenly did. She said clearly, If anyone knew a family where a child around 5 or 6 years old had appeared out of nowhere and something felt off, contact the FBI tip line immediately. It was a striking thing to say publicly, but it reflected exactly where investigators' thinking was going. During this same period, authorities made contact with Dulce's father, Edgar Perez, in Mexico. They spoke with him by phone in late September, then in person on October 15th. By November, he appeared to have been largely ruled out, but contact remained open as the investigation continued expanding. Then December arrived, and with it, national television. The case was featured on Dr. Phil. Noema sat across from him in front of a live audience and millions of viewers. It was the kind of platform that could either help a case or derail it. For Noema, it was both. Dr. Phil asked her directly whether Dulce might have known the person who took her. She said she wasn't sure. He pushed further, asking who she thought could be responsible. And that's when she brought up the name of a former acquaintance, someone who had approached her on multiple occasions before Dulce disappeared. The last time he saw her, Dulce was with her. He had waved. He had asked if that was her daughter. He had tried asking Noema out before, more than once. She had turned him down each time. She was careful to clarify. She did not suspect this person. She only mentioned him because she was answering honestly. But once that information was out there, it was out there. Something else happened during that interview that shifted how viewers saw Noema. For most of the conversation, she spoke quietly in English, her second language. Some read that measured tone as detachment, as coldness. But when Dr. Phil asked her to speak directly to Dulce in Spanish, everything changed. Her voice broke. Her emotion was immediate and unmistakable. She said she felt like she had failed her daughter, that if Dulce was ever found, the first thing she would do is ask her for forgiveness. Dr. Phil noted the distinction clearly for his audience. Language matters. Emotion expressed in your second language rarely lands the same way it does in your first. What read as calm in English was grief in Spanish, raw, unfiltered, and real. By the end of the episode, Dr. Phil announced he would personally contribute to the reward fund, pushing the total to $75,000. Tips flooded in from all 50 states. There was not one state from which investigators had not received at least one call. The entire nation was paying attention. Take a second. Think about that backpack, still packed, still sitting in the same house where Dulce grew up. Her school folders inside from her very first week of kindergarten. Her mother hasn't touched it. That's not a detail in a police report. That is a promise from a mother who refuses to give up. If this story is sitting with you the way it should, leave a comment. Tell me what you think happened. What piece of this doesn't add up for you? I read every single one. Just when it seemed like the investigation had hit every possible wall, something strange happened. Anonymous letters started showing up, not in New Jersey, not anywhere near Bridgeton. In Ohio, 3 separate pieces of correspondence surfaced in the Youngstown area. One was found at a public library. Another turned up at an ice cream shop in Wethersfield Township, just a few miles from a small community called Austintown. The third arrived at a racetrack and casino in the same general area. 2 of them were postcards. One was a 2-page letter. Investigators analyzed the handwriting across all 3 and concluded they were most likely written by the same person. The 2-page letter sent to the library referenced Dulce and mentioned Noema's appearance on Dr. Phil. But here's the thing investigators were careful to point out. Every single detail in that letter was information anyone with internet access could have found through a basic search. Nothing suggested the writer had first-hand knowledge. Nothing pointed to someone who had actually been there. The postcard sent to the racetrack and casino was different. It contained details specific to Austintown itself, no postmark. Among the words investigators could make out, look for Dulce Alavez, kidnapping from Bridgeton, New Jersey, a 76 truck stop, a dead-end street, woods. It also included what appeared to be a return address with a zip code pointing to Mexico. Law enforcement took it seriously. They had to. Even a long shot is a shot when you have nothing else solid. Investigators descended on roughly 40 acres of land near the racetrack, cadaver dogs, infrared technology, a careful, methodical search. They found nothing connected to Dulce. Around the same time, former family spokesperson Jackie Rodriguez received her own letter. A chaotic collection of notes scrawled on scraps of paper, crammed into an envelope. References to a campground, references to Mexico. Disorganized and impossible to interpret. Like everything else in this case, it led nowhere definitive. Chief Gaimari addressed it publicly. Whether the letters were genuine or a hoax, his department would trace them to their source. If someone was deliberately wasting investigators' time and resources with false information while a 5-year-old girl was still missing, he wanted them held accountable. Then March 2020 arrived. COVID-19 shut down the country in ways nobody anticipated. For an active missing persons investigation, the timing could not have been worse. In-person briefings stopped. Courthouses closed. Interstate travel became complicated. The kind of on-the-ground work that a case like this depended on. Knocking on doors, sitting across from witnesses, physically searching locations, ground to a near halt. Progress that had already been painfully slow slowed even further, and into that silence came the psychics. It happens in almost every high-profile missing persons case. When answers don't come and desperation grows, people with claimed abilities start stepping forward. One said Dulce was buried in a shallow grave near a school. Others offered visions, coordinates, dreams. Former FBI Special Agent J.J. Claver addressed it without hesitation. The FBI does not give credibility to information provided by psychics. Not one case, not one recovery, not one confirmed lead in FBI history has come from a psychic. Investigators had thousands of real tips to work through. The psychics were noise. A year passed, then another. Each anniversary brought new age progression images from the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. Updated pictures showing what Dulce might look like as she got older. Each image a reminder of time passing, of a little girl growing up somewhere, or not growing up at all. Silent marches, candlelight vigils, organizers pledging to return every year until she was found. The investigation never officially stalled. Law enforcement maintained that clearly and consistently. Detectives were still conducting interviews. Leads were still being pursued, in the United States and in Mexico. Then in 2025, authorities took a step that would have seemed like science fiction not long ago. Local law enforcement began incorporating artificial intelligence into the search, using AI technology to reanalyze existing evidence, cross-reference thousands of tips, and look for patterns human investigators may have missed. A sign that even as years pass, the people working this case are still reaching for new tools, still refusing to accept there are no answers left to find. More than 5 years have passed since September 16, 2019. 5 years since a little girl in a yellow koala t-shirt ran toward the swings at Bridgeton City Park and never came back. 5 years of tips, 5 years of searches, 5 years of a family waking up every single morning to the same unanswered question. The case is still open. Bridgeton Police, the FBI, and the New Jersey State Police have never walked away from this. A family has lived 5 years in suspension, not fully able to grieve, not fully able to move forward, because there is no confirmed ending to hold on to. Noema still lives in the same house. Dulce's dresses are still folded and put away. Her shoes are still where she left them. Her toys are right where she placed them the last time she played. And that backpack, the one she carried on her last day of kindergarten, still packed with her folders and her papers, sits exactly where she left it. That backpack is not a detail. That backpack is a statement. It says this family has not given up. It says they are holding space for a little girl they refuse to stop believing in. Dulce Maria Alavez would be 11 years old today. Somewhere between the little girl who loved Frozen and pretended she was a princess, and whoever she would have been growing into. 11 years old, with a whole life ahead of her that no one has been able to account for. If you have ever been to Bridgeton City Park, if you were there that Monday afternoon on September 16, 2019, if you know someone whose story never quite added up after that day, a vehicle that disappeared, a story that didn't hold together, a detail that has been sitting in the back of your mind for years, now is the time. Contact the Bridgeton Police Department. Contact the FBI. If you're more comfortable speaking Spanish, there is a dedicated tip line available specifically for Spanish-speaking individuals. You can also reach out directly to the Missing Persons Unit of the New Jersey State Police. Every piece of information matters. The smallest detail, the thing that seems too minor to bother reporting, could be the thread that finally unravels this. Dulce deserves answers. Her family deserves answers. And somewhere out there, someone has them. If this story moved you, if it stayed with you the way it should, share it. Put it in front of someone who might know something. Keep Dulce's face circulating. Keep her name in conversations. That is how cold cases get solved. Not always through technology or new evidence. Sometimes through the right person finally seeing the right post at the right moment and deciding it is time to come forward. Subscribe for more true crime documentaries that give a real voice to cases still waiting for justice. We cover the stories that matter. We stay with them. Because these are not just cases. They are people. They are families. They are little girls with butterfly pants and koala t-shirts who deserve to come home.